Hello everyone. I was asked to make a video of basically testing a keep in practice, and I'll add testing supplements to the video too. Disclaimer: nothing meant for illegal purposes or intent. Talking about history and knowledge, information. Same old, same old. I've spoken about this before in different videos and throughout the years, but I'll try and congest most of it into one video. And basically, what I've spoken about is, regularly exercising your dogs, having good nutrition, good supplements. If you're going to supplement your dog throughout its life, it's best to give very small amounts, just so that they're accustomed to it, they get some benefit from it, and you can increase them or not during a keep. And if you do increase them, that should go along with the increased work. If you don't increase them, then what you should do is increase the feed. Sometimes you can do both. Just depends on what type of work you do, what kind of stress you put on the dog, what it is what supplements you're giving them, and what type of food you're giving them. But to test anything takes time. And you could call this a pre-keep. Now the pre-keep is generally done right before you go into a keep, into a full-out conditioning program. But I felt that I had my dogs in pre-keep their whole life, meaning that I taught them how to do certain types of work. I exercised them regularly. And to cut back on time, for example, if you're doing road work or hand walking, or even some mill work, those things can take time. But to cut back on it, what you can do is more intense workouts for shorter periods of time, and they'll get the benefits of that. In fact, some training programs for humans even are moving more towards that. For example, some people who do road work, who run, jog, rather than run for miles, they'll sprint as hard as they can for 15 minutes. You can do that with a dog too. The time that you choose, the amount of time you choose to do that for, depends on the dog, depends on how it reacts to the work, and depends on where you're running, or if you're using an apparatus like a cat mill or a treadmill. That depends too. How you use them, how much you use them, in what manner you use them. So to begin with, what you can do is, because you're not only testing a keep and testing supplements, you're also figuring out what weight the dog is for his best conditioned weight. There's several ways you can do that too. Some people just cut back on the feed, and I would do that in the summertime. It also depends on where you live, the time of year you're doing it. If it's winter time compared to summertime, what I would do is, in summertime I had them either at weight or even a little below weight, because it gets so hot. And as long as they're getting good nutrition, being a little bit underweight is not going to hurt them, because you're not stressing them that much in the summertime anyways. Most of the time, if it's real hot, they're just kind of laying around. They need plenty of water, they need shade. You can't push them in the heat like that, because you could damage them. If it's in the wintertime, if it's very, very cold, if you're not conditioning the dog for an event, even in today's legal sports, then you can condition a dog and have them a little bit heavier. And you're going to keep them heavier in the wintertime anyways. So you can condition them close to what you think their perfect weight is and still test your conditioning program. Or if you make sure if you're doing it just like a regular keep, you can bring them down to what you consider their natural weight. So you can actually cut back on the feed. You could cut back on the feed and continue with the supplements. Or you can have them heavy and start working them. And what you'll notice, a good way to judge for me was what their natural weight, what their condition weight was I'd work them for a period of time, and once their weight leveled off and stayed the same for a few days, I was pretty close to their weight. But testing the keep is something that I did too, and I used to get backlash for it because people would say, well, you're not really seeing the dog under that much stress, you know, if you're rolling them or whatever. You know, have you conditioned them, or you got them down in weight and you exercise them? It's not fair, or it's not, you know, that stuff never made sense to me. An athlete should be in good shape all the time, even if he's heavy, meaning he should be active. Now, active doesn't mean taking them out there and running them every day. I see people putting hard workouts on them every single day, or 6 or 7 days, 5 or 6 days a week. You don't have to do that either. That you'll burn them out. They'll go stale. So if you have them in a kennel and you have them on a chain like we did back in the day, what you can do is just, you may hand walk them a mile or two. You may do some flirt pole work or tug of war. If you take them somewhere, you can do some swimming, or any number of things just to keep them fit, just to keep them loose and limber, muscles tightened up, have some strength, may have some weight on them, but they're in decent shape throughout their life. During that process of growing up, it's important to teach them what it is that you're going to use for your conditioning program. Whether it's a lot of hand walking, a lot of road work, some type of strength work, flirt pole, tug of war, spring pole, swimming, chasing a ball, all these different things that you can use in a keep or just regular exercise. And I did that too, but I didn't use all that stuff in keep. I basically did road work and strength work. But all that prior stuff I did with them, that helps them to develop, helps them to mature. You see where the athleticism is, their intelligence, and what kind of work they'll do, and what kind they're best at or better at. But at some point during their life, if you're considering entering your dog in sporting events, they should know your keep. Or you should find out, like people say, what they like to do and include that in your keep. So that's first and foremost. And then when they get up to age, basically what I did is I either put them through a short keep or a full keep, anywhere from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. And when I mean that, what I mean by saying that is I was going to put them through just like I would a normal keep. The peak week is going to be the week before the event, even though there's no event, you're simulating it. And then the last week I'm going to peak them out. And then I'm going to see the process and the end result and the results of what I did those previous 4, 6 or 8 weeks. So I'm going to run them through a keep, And back in the day, what I would do is sometimes I would use that, and at the end of that would be their game test. Again, people are going to say, well, you have an advantage over whatever it is you're using because your dog's in condition and the other dog isn't. If it's someone else's dog or even your own dogs on your own yard. Nothing wrong with that, because you can work around that as well. You could put them on a bigger dog. You could put more than one dog on them. You could halfway work them so that they're a little bit tired and then roll them. That's what I used to do sometimes too. I did all kinds of different things. And one of the things, since we can't do that no more, one of the things I also did was run them through the keep, whatever it was, peek them out, and then what would be their the day of the event, I would just run them. I would work them, put them through stress as much as I can, just like if it was for a show. So all the tools that the dog was able to use, even the ones I didn't do in keep, I would put that on a dog, which means I'm going to run them hard. I'm going to do hard strength work. I might do some flirt pole. I might do some mill work. I might do some tug of war. All after I've done the keep and peeked them out, which most of the time took anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours for me to see the results of what I did in that conditioning program for that dog. And what I'm trying to do is, without the contact, I'm trying to simulate the event, putting heavy stress on them. And at the same time, you're monitoring their breathing. You're seeing how long it takes them to get tired and recoup, how many times they get tired and recoup during the event, what their breathing is like afterwards, and then how long it takes them to recuperate and cool down after the event. And that'll give you a measure of how good your keep is. Not only that, it'll give you a measure of where you like the dog's weight at. If you went through all that and you guessed he's a 38, but he didn't perform at that high level at 38, you might want to bring him down lower, you might want to bring him up higher, depends. Generally the way to judge is how strong the dog is, how he moves, how his reflexes are, and fast muscle twitch and strength and things like that. So you're monitoring the dog during the keep, you're monitoring the weight just like you would for a real keep. You're weighing the dog every day, you're taking them out before you do your workout, emptying them out, loosen them up, warm them up, stretch them out. You're doing the workout. After the workout, you're cooling them down. You're doing your rub down, then you're feeding them. And after that, you give them fluids if they need them. Give them water, see if they'll drink it. A lot of people think it's a waste of time. I looked at it this way. For me, it wasn't a waste of time, because not only have I went through a keep with this particular dog beforehand, this is somewhere around between 1.5 years and 2 years old. Not only did I test my keep, I did it for free, except what it cost me to do that with them. Increase food, increase supplements, whatever it is. I'm not taking a brand new keep or a brand new dog who never went through my keep. And even my own dogs, the first time they go through a keep is the first time they go through a keep, go through my keep. Even though they know how to do it, they're used to it, and they'll do the work that I like, I've never seen them fully gone through a keep. So it's free. You can adjust any mistakes that you think you made. You can adjust the workouts however you want, at least with that particular dog. And again, it doesn't have to take a long time. You don't even have to spend the same amount of time that you did in a real keep, because you can do harder workouts shorter distance or shorter time frame, and you'll get some measure of the results of your conditioning program or your exercises. And it doesn't have to take that long. It could be in a 4-week span. So to me, that's where I see the benefits of doing that. I didn't keep my dogs heavy anyways. And I've done all that. I've rolled dogs that were too heavy. I've rolled dogs in the heat. And during their schooling, I might do that on purpose. But I don't have to do it when I'm practicing a keep. That never made sense to me. And most athletes, their longevity is related to their health and their physical fitness throughout their life. The better you are nutritionally, the better fit you are, the longer career you have, barring any major injuries. And if there are some mishaps, some injuries like a torn pad or a pull muscle, because of their health and because of their strength, they recuperate faster. It doesn't take as long for them to heal or for their muscles to get back in place or things like that. So you shorten that healing process as well. I'm sure there's science on it, but again, I'm not a scientist. I just go by what I saw, the results of it. When a mishap happened, I actually check how long does it take for him to heal. If they're fat and out of weight, out of shape and not nutritionally sound, it's going to take a lot longer for them to heal. Whereas if they are well fed, well exercised, fit, and healthy, it doesn't take that long. Might take a couple of 3 days and they're back at it again. They're good to go. You just have to monitor the dog and see how it responds. So that was one way for me to do that, was to put them through a keep, or at least a short keep. But it's still the process. Even if it's 4 weeks, I'm going to do hard work for 3 weeks and pick them out the last week. And I'm going to see how they dry themselves out and how they come down to weight, and how they maneuver and act and behave and recoup at that particular weight. It's a lot easier to make adjustments if you think maybe you're off a little bit, maybe you're a pound too heavy or a pound too light. It's a lot easier to judge it that way than it is just looking at them or while you're already in keep. That just happens so many times that people will condition a dog, and that's the first time they were ever conditioned. You know, there's a reason athletes have an off season, or they go to camp or whatever it is. So that's another benefit of that, is that's kind of like your boot camp or your training camp. And I just always thought of them as that. They're an athlete. Everything's geared towards that. I want to have them prepped way beforehand, which means throughout their life. In case they did make the grade, then they'd be ready to go. You can also test different feeds. You can test different supplements. I use chicken, but I've used beef before too. I didn't use fish back in the day, but maybe in today's time I would use fish. And depending how much you give, some people use 3 different types of protein. They use beef, fish, chicken. To my way of thinking, I wouldn't give all 3 at the same time. But you can. It's just that you would have to have less amounts of each. Let's say you're feeding half a pound of protein, meat. I wouldn't give a half a pound each. So in my mind, if you're starting out that way, the total sum of the 3 would have to equal half a pound. And then you have to measure the protein of each. Chicken has higher protein than beef, which has higher protein than fish. So it's just a mathematical equation of where you think what's the right amount. And people have given, I have too, depending on the size of the dog, increased the weight of the protein to 3/4 or even a pound. So, and there's different benefits from different kinds of protein. For me, chicken is kind of an all-around protein. They have good muscle, but not too bulky. Fish is cleaner. Like I said, I never eat fish, so somebody else can give their input on that. Fish, especially the fatty fishes, there's a good source of extra clean protein and extra clean fat. So those are the benefits of that. Just like using, some people use coconut oil, some people use fish oil. Red meat, like beef, you tend to have more muscle, more bulkiness. Some people think you have more strength, more power as well. And it's a simple reason for that. It has more iron. That's what I believe anyways, because of the iron content. So it's all a matter of testing your feed too. And you're also testing the extra ingredients you put in there. Because even people that use kibble like myself added food to the diet. I know of very few people that just use kibble and supplements, and they had good results. I just like giving them food for the dog's benefit and for the nutritional benefit as well, as opposed to just straight kibble. Some people mix kibble and raw. Some people feed all raw. So it's a matter of testing all that, or whichever one you like at least. If this is what you prefer, all raw, test it and test all the ingredients. And what I mean by testing all the ingredients is you feed it to them, you're giving them the regular exercise, you're checking their stool, you're checking their muscle, you're checking their urine, you're checking their gait, you're checking how they react, you're checking their instincts, meaning their focus, you're checking their gums to make sure they're pink, you're checking to make sure their nose is wet and their eyes are clear, and just overall health, a shiny coat. You could even, what I used to do once a month or so is the glands by their anus, squeeze those, clean them out. You'll notice when you first start doing that, sometimes a lot of it comes out and it's dark and it smells really bad. As you continue to do that, when you clear those glands, it becomes less amount. It's not so dark, even though it still smells. You got to be careful, because when you squeeze it out, if the dog, in a split second, he's going to turn around and lick it up. They just happen to do that. I don't know why. It's the smell, or they like it, or whatever. So that's another way of cleaning your dog out. You can use berries to clean them out, antioxidants. You can give them enzymes. Whatever it is you decide. Some people use creatine and what's some of them other supplements. I never used those supplements. I just used a vitamin and mineral supplement, B15 and desiccated liver. Some people give whole beef liver. Beef liver is the best, I would say, for the iron and B vitamins, and has a lot of stuff in it, some protein, a lot of good minerals in the liver. So some people use metabolol, and they use all kinds of stuff. Just look them up. I would look at the ingredients, what their benefits are, what you're using it for, what's the result of using them. Because if you use too much, then you're stacking one on top of the other. You're giving them too much of something that they already have, which could cause them to have in too much protein, or too much fat, too many minerals, too much iron, too much vitamin B12, or whatever it is, too much vitamin D, too much calcium. Believe it or not, too much calcium ain't good for them. You know, vitamin D, if your dog gets sunlight, they get plenty of vitamin D that way. But you can increase the amount of vitamin D a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that, saying a multivitamin. And anytime you're adding those supplements, You have to do it in conjunction with putting stress on the dog, some form of exercise. If you don't do that, I wouldn't add any supplements to their feed. If you're not doing that, the dog just, you might take them out every once in a while. If you're giving them good feed, that's good enough. They don't need any extra. But if you, like I did, where we were doing something with them all the time, those extra supplements help. But again, they were in small amounts. Wasn't the recommended dosage. And I didn't even give them the recommended dosage in keep of those supplements, because again, most of that stuff is in the feed. So anytime you're adding something, what you want to do basically is you have a basic daily feed. And you want to see throughout their life how they act on that. This is what you're feeding them every day. And you could have variance. Some people throw this in there and they throw that in there, and they might use some hamburger meat one day and some fish another day. And you might give them this type of vegetable one day and this green another day, and mix it up. As long as you do that over an extended period of time, the dog's going to be accustomed to whatever it is you're going to feed them. So when you don't include everything that you're giving them for every particular meal, when you reintroduce it the next day or 2 days later or whatever, they're used to it. Doesn't throw them off. Doesn't throw their digestion off. They don't have an upset stomach. They're not puking, nothing like that. Runny stool, nothing. They're used to it. Different variety of meat. If you're feeding raw or if you're feeding cooked and different types. You may give them rice. You may give them pasta. Some people use honey. And the point of all this, where I'm saying all these different names, because people give all kinds of different stuff. But the point is, whatever it is you're giving them, they should be used to it. So when you add something new, you're going through the same process of exercise or even a mock keep, and you're going to see the results of it. So if you're regularly exercising your dog and you're putting stress on them sometimes, meaning you're running them through the mill on a treadmill, you're burning them out, or a cat mill, or swimming them for 2 hours one day or whatever, you're checking the dog's urine and stool and his behavior on that type of feed. You don't see any issues, you don't see any problems. He's healthy, shiny coat, all that stuff. The coop's good, all that. But now you're bringing something new in that you want to try. You go through the same process. If you see something different, lesser work ethic, runny stools, change of color of stool, dark urine, bloody urine, whatever it is, then you know it's that ingredient that you added might be the problem, and probably is the problem. If you have a set, let's say you figure out this is what I want to feed in keep, and you're going to put them through that mock keep, and you do that, and the dog comes out all right, and you put him through the stress at the end, and he shows to be good, that's your keep feed. Don't change it. Especially when you do a real keep on them for an event. Do the same feed, use the same feed, whatever supplements you give them, do not change it. Do not add something to it that you're not familiar with. And as you go through this process of adding this and adding that previously to this point, then you have to add something. You add something new, and then you see the results of it. Let's say you add creatine to your keep, or you want to start using creatine. You give it to them. Give yourself at least 10 days. Now, in my mind, everything doesn't absorb, and the dog doesn't become fully accustomed to it for 3 months. That's been my experience. But you will see the benefits or not within 10 days of whatever it is you're giving them. That's general rule that I had for myself as well. So let's say you add creatine. See how the dog reacts to it after 10 days. And if you keep giving it to them, they become more accustomed to it, as part of their diet. Or at least you know that you may not be giving it to them in their daily diet, but you know that you found some benefits from adding the creatine to the dog. So when you put it in their keep, they're not going to have any ill effects from it, no negative effects. This could be the same with metabolol. It could be the same with red cell or any of this products. There's so many of them that I can't remember them all. And let me see if I can find it. I'll be right back. This is something I had written out. It's some supplements and some other things involved. I'm just going to mention them here. I probably mentioned them in a different video, but I'm going to do it again here because we're on the topic. Probiotics, everybody is kind of familiar with that now. They're vitamins and minerals for health, digestion. Vertex, pre-digested proteins, lactic acid buffers, vitamin C and E. Creatine has zinc and ginseng in it. Or Vertex has creatine. I'm not sure what I wrote here, but Vertex might have creatine and zinc and ginseng. You can look all this up. Cytomax, that's another one. Of course, I mentioned I use B15 desiccated liver. Clenbuterol is something that dog guys used to use back in the day. It used to be available. Has steroid properties, but it's banned in the U.S. now. Builds muscle in horses, increases metabolism. Creatine is a fat-burning stimulant. I think that's what it means. Metabolol is another one. Vanadyl sulfate. You guys can look all this stuff up. Albuterol, calcium, B12, carbonated water, reduces acid. The good thing about carbonated water, if you use it, if your dog has a digestive issue or upset stomach, that's probably the quickest way, at least to see some relief from it. I've used it when I've gone to different countries. I even used, what's that stuff called? Pepto-Bismol. My doctor told me when I traveled to other countries, because you know you may not be used to the water or some of the food, that's kind of your guard against getting viruses, you know, something that could upset your stomach. I wouldn't advise giving that to dogs on the regular, but if they have an upset stomach, and it's even good when pups get parvo or coronavirus, to use Pepto-Bismol. But carbonated water helps. I'm not sure of all the properties. I just know it worked when I did it. And if my dog exhibited some kind of stomach problem, sometimes they'll bow up like that, or they'll like that. Sometimes they'll just out and out puke. But it's just watching the dog, see how they move and see how they act. Sometimes you touch their stomach, they're sensitive to it. Give them a shot of carbonated water, as long as what the ailment isn't permanent, it'll relieve their stomach issues in a relatively short period of time, within 15 minutes. So again, whatever supplements you're using, use them for an extended period of time, either on a daily or over the course of a mock keep, and see the results of it. And then if you want to take something out or add something to that, you do that for an amount of time, at least 10 days, and then you see the results of that. Some of this stuff, you can monitor it for months. Keep notes, see what it does. There may be some things that make your dog retain fluids or retain water. There may be some things that cause swelling. There may be some things that dry the dog out, if it's sodium based. there may be some things that don't metabolize very fast, or don't or do, depending on if they're oil-based or water-based. So it's just a matter of that. All this time we spend with the dogs, if you're just spending time with your dogs, you can also monitor all this different stuff you're giving them. It doesn't have to be time consuming, and it doesn't have to be that scientific, and it doesn't, it may mean just taking a few notes here or there, or just your own watching them day by day. But if you're out there with them anyways, you can see the results from them. A quick way, and I don't have to tell you this is bad, but a quick way to do something just to show you some results very fast is go give your dog a bunch of something to drink, whether it's juice or whether it's broth or something like that. Give them a bunch of it. You know their belly's full, then watch them work. You can hear it sloshing around in their belly. Now that seems kind of, yeah, nobody would do that, seems kind of ignorant. But that's the point I'm making, is when you're giving them something, you should be able to monitor it to some degree, in some form or fashion. So with all the time we spent with our dogs, that's what it is you're doing. And I used to, you know, my kids helped me, my wife helped me, they would give me feedback too. Not what I was giving them and then give me feedback on that, but just spending the time with the dog, give me the feedback on the dog's behavior, or how he felt, or when he went to the bathroom or something like that. They might say, "Dad, the dog went to the bathroom and he was all runny. He had diarrhea or something." If you're not paying mind to that, you might miss it. Most of the time you're not, because the dog's confined to an area and you can see it. But you might miss how many times he had diarrhea during the day. It could be more than once. If it's in the same spot, you might think he only had it once, and he had it actually 2 or 3 times because he diarrheaed in the same spot. And if you're not checking his hydration, you might not even notice it. But there's a big difference. So again, all this is a precursor to conditioning your dog, which for me was a lifelong event, not that much time consuming, believe it or not. And it was a quick way in the whole scheme of things of finding out where my dog's weight was, what nutrition was beneficial to him, and how he looked in condition. A mock conditioning that at the end of the keep, after I peeked him out, I put some kind of stress on him to replicate what went on during a show. So I hope this helped you guys. Thanks for all your support. You know where to contact me on Facebook Messenger, or my email, richardjschoolboy60@gmail.com, or on Instagram for any merch or any registrations, or if you have a question, if you have a topic you want to cover, my Cash App is $Schoolboy2023. And let me think of anything else. Press the like button, subscribe, tell a friend, all that. I'm out. Peace. Thank you.